Welcome back to Edge of Indy. If we believe one thing around here, it's that Indy is booming with growth, with events, and with the best people in the country. Today, we're live with the Indy Chamber to discuss Indy business development and Yelp Indy previewing their annual Yelp Bazaar. All this and much more on the Edge.
Your audio and video source featuring Indianapolis tech trends, marketing industry champions, and business innovation. This is Edge of Indy. Broadcasting from Edge Media Studios. Let's get today's conversation started.
Well, welcome back to Edge of Indy. Let me tell you what Edge of Indy is all about. Actually, let me introduce myself. I'm Aaron Sparks. I'm the CEO of Site Strategics and the title sponsor of Edge of Indy. And Edge of Indy is actually broadcast from Edge Media Studios, our lovely downtown internet television studio here. And Edge of Indy is literally about focusing on local Indianapolis entrepreneurs, innovators, movers and shakers from around the city, as well as Indiana, because we got a lot to talk about in this state. We also feature people and organizations that are making Indianapolis a great place to work, play, live, and visit. So we always ask you to choose local and choose local often. That's what Edge of Indy is all about. So thank you for all of our watchers coming on board. We do Facebook Live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. And we want to introduce to you regularly our guests. One of our guests here, well, let me introduce to you my cohort in crime. This is Brittany Simpson, onboarding and outreach manager of Site Strategics. How are you doing, Brittany?
Good, how are you?
I'm tripping over your title again.
That's all right. My name, my title.
Doesn't really matter.
I'm here every week. It doesn't really matter.
She actually just kind of camps out here. And,
I don't actually get to leave this room.
We bring her food. You got to pass it underneath the door.
Underneath the door. That's right.
Let's introduce to you our first guest. This gentleman is Michael Huber. He's the president and CEO of Indy Chamber. Welcome so much to Edge of Indy.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks, Brittany. Good to be here.
Of course. Thanks
You're
for being here.
more than welcome. Hey, Michael, if you could give our viewers and our listeners a bit of an idea of the function of the Indy Chamber, what would you say in 3 words?
Oh, you're limiting him to 3? 3 is hard. You don't.
3 seconds. No. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just my brain just froze when you said 3 words. We've
no worries. All right.
Yeah, we've been around for 130 years, and we're
you look great.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah. High protein, lots of cardio.
Mm-hmm.
You had that stint with a beard.
Yeah, thank you. I tried the beard. It didn't work out. We've been around for about 130 years, and we're the place where business comes together to meet each other. We especially thrive when businesses across different industries and disciplines come together. But then we also serve a function to really try to transform the community. To create the kind of place where anybody can thrive. And so those are through initiatives that we drive as the leader, like mass transit expansion, which is something that we care a lot about. Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times we support, just telling the story of our city, especially emerging industries like tech, which is why I'm, again, lucky to be here today.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic.
What about Indy makes it such a booming economy right now? Like it seems to be everything. It's really hot here now.
Yeah.
Like, it's hot for growth and development.
Yeah.
So what about Indy is so great right now?
So I'm gonna resist the to go down the traditional chamber, which is we have the best people in the best. I mean, we do, but
that's the truth.
So
it's okay. They know
we are still the population center of the United States. If you graph where the entire U.S. population lives, the crossroads of America, we are that in terms of the easiest place to get in terms of the convergence of highways, and we've got the second biggest FedEx hub in the world. So literally more people and more cargo come through here than just about anywhere in the world. But the growth in Indianapolis, we're a newer city compared to other Midwestern cities like Chicago, Cincinnati, St. Louis, Louisville. The growth in Indianapolis only happens in the 50s and 60s, and so Columbus, Ohio is on a similar track. We really explode in the 1950s, and so we are a place that's got a lot of the, kind of values associated with, being in the Midwest, and people are friendly here. People do want to help here, but there's also been a huge import thing happening here in the last 5-6 decades, but the last 2 decades have been really, really exciting. And so our growth has been more recent. And the last thing I'll say is, if you look at our mix of industries compared to other cities, we have a more diverse mix of life sciences, tech, which you know well, advanced manufacturing, which is a lot like tech. Think about Cummins and Rolls-Royce Now's and transmission exploding. Ag and ag tech is huge, and then add sports. If you add motorsports, pro sports, and the NCAA and all the companies that want to be here, sports is a multi-billion-dollar value chain, and a lot of other cities have those industries too. But for a metro area of just under 2 million, you'd be very hard pressed to find another region or metro area that's got that diversity, particularly of tech and R&D jobs across those different verticals. So that's part of our job in Indy Chamber is making sure that we've got the talent, the infrastructure, the policies that we can continue to really feed those industries, because they also create indirect jobs. They create service jobs, which benefit everybody too.
Absolutely. I was blown away back in 2014 when Steve Forbes came through with his Innovation Summit. Yeah. And the number of diverse industries that were represented there. Ag was huge. Yeah. And Cummins was certainly there. But there were so many different stories that don't get nearly as much media play as the tech scene.
And that's something, I'm glad you brought that up, because that is something that, there's a whole thing about you might organizations or even individuals you meet, and you'll be like, that person's all sizzle, no steak. You know what I mean? And in a sense, we're the exact opposite.
We love steak here.
We do love steak. Leonard Hoops, who you probably know, runs Visit Indy. As somebody, he's lived on the West Coast. My wife's from the West Coast. Says, the product is much better than the story, is better than the information. That's why the work that you're doing at Edge of Indy is really important in telling the story. But who would know, if you live on either coast or internationally, that we've got one of the highest concentrations of R&D jobs in the country across all those industries I mentioned, right? Who would know that? A lot of my job, and a lot of it's inspiring, it's frustrating at times too, is trying to get people who live here to understand that. Fighting that inferiority complex that you find with people. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but I find that some of our best ambassadors are people who come here from other places, parts of the United States or other countries, and they get it after they're here for a couple of years. And so the work that the Indy Chamber is doing, we're really trying to tap into that. Instead of being that sort of typical cheerleader, we're trying to do a better job pulling these stories and compiling these stories and to reach a broader audience. And again, that's one reason why we very much appreciate the work that you do here on Edge of Indy.
Appreciate that. I appreciate that greatly. You're absolutely right. And there's a lot of individuals that are realizing that we don't toot our own horns, for lack of a better analogy.
No, we don't.
Nearly as well as the coasts do. Yeah. So these organizations are starting to form to help lift up brands that don't tout themselves. There's a humble nature in the Midwest that kind of goes against natural PR, right? So for people like Jason Williams over at Centric Indy, where that lift up innovation across all of the different industries, not just tech. So we're starting to see more and more of that type of reference and broadcast outside of the tech channel.
A perfect example, and Jason is connected to this community, is and it's one of our new emerging efforts, is we've got all these great tech companies. Many of them are affiliated with formerly ExactTarget, now Salesforce, formerly Compendium, now Oracle. And there's such a great opportunity with the success that Lilly has had, and Cummins and Roche and companies like that. There are about 20 companies in our market, successful worldwide. We're very fortunate that many of them are growing. But there's still a huge opportunity to connect that entrepreneurial talent, companies like Jason's, and he's already very well connected, but to those life sciences companies, so it's almost like tech as a horizontal, okay, and trying to get our worldwide successful companies really more and more and more bought into that ecosystem, and it's happening. You hear more and more about local companies getting a great project with Lilly, or getting a great project with Rolls-Royce, but that's a lot of the work that we're trying to do, and it's more than I appreciate the sentiment of buy local, because that's something we really stand for as Indy Chamber, and we're even trying to go take that and even go a step further, and basically to our major companies and institutions and hospitals basically say, hey, spend a little time discovering these entrepreneurial companies, because you may, and I'll say will, get a better product in many senses with a company that's down the street. Don't just assume that New York company is the one you need to keep going to, right? And that's exciting. I mean, it is a challenge, but trying to build those bridges between entrepreneurial companies and more of our anchors, and our successful institutions is really where we are right now.
Culturally, it does seem like right now companies are more open to, like you said, working with those local and it might just be the nature of how things have worked out. I don't know if millennials are driving that mindset along the way, but I really do see more and more companies are thinking like, okay, you know what, we don't need to go to the coast for XYZ item or XYZ service. We can keep it here in the Midwest. Yeah,
we're seeing that ethos a lot more. I think I'm bullish on millennials. I know it's the cool thing for, I'm Gen X. It's a cool thing for people my age and older to complain about millennials, but I think a lot of the values and aspirations of my, millennial and younger employees, I'm really, kind of inspired by. You all are really very.
We're not all bad.
No, you're. I know I'm totally generalizing, but very, very altruistic. Very resourceful and multifunctional. So I think millennials are driving part of that. I think there's a greater consciousness about being international too, in our approach and in our outreach, which is something that's inspiring to me. And I think you're seeing it a lot more. And we have data to back this up, but also anecdotally, the local food and local restaurant and local craft beer and local artisan crafts and entrepreneurial businesses seems like it's really exploding in the last especially 5 years. So those are all things we have going for us. If I may, I think the one thing that we're seeing is more consciousness around helping those less fortunate, because with all this exciting growth, we still have multi-generational poverty. I think the decision of your business to locate, where it did in a redeveloping area, that creates jobs for everybody, regardless of where you are, on the income strata is really, really important. And we're seeing more sort of consciousness in the business community there. That's why we're getting much more involved in education and education reform and in workforce. And it's not just a corporate social responsibility thing. We're seeing business embrace doing work in these areas because it's in their own long-term self-interest.
And programs like Employ Up that are coming through and being able to allow people to come back into the workforce with training. TechPoint is also right there in this space of being able to give them experiences inside of Angie's List and Perk and these different organizations.
You can go to indychamber.com and read more about our services in economic development and marketing, advocacy and business, small business development, micro lending, and things like that. I'm really proud of the work that we're doing. It was just announced last week, the second year of a federal grant with the SBA, Small Business Administration. Last year we spent over 1,600 hours business coaching for offenders who had just been released and some pre-release, helping them with their new business ideas. The path to employment, it's tough if you have a criminal record. We have over 5,000 people with criminal records who are come back to society every year in Indianapolis. Many of them, even though we're trying to change this, face obstacles in terms of getting a second chance and getting hired. And for many of them, the best path is going to be business ownership, service business ownership. And so we're really trying to ramp up. It's got to be business, that's our core competency. But we are trying to aim that business expertise at areas like, ex-offenders coming back into the community more and more with child care centers, helping them develop capacity to serve more and more kids. And so that's something that I'm really proud of, and I hope that will continue to grow.
That is great. That's great to hear.
Thanks.
I hadn't actually heard about that program.
Yeah, it's READY. It's REDI. If you just Google Indy Chamber READY, we're in the second year of the READY program. We are looking for volunteers and business coaches, and that's across the whole dimension of serving entrepreneurial companies. But of course, for people who have a particular passion and want to get involved with ex-offenders returning to society, and we're doing more in the nonprofit space, especially if it's child care centers and organizations working with youth. We're finding that just because you're a nonprofit designation education. That doesn't mean that you don't have a need for business coaching in case, and you're probably finding it's really the opposite. A lot of the acumen that nonprofits need is the blocking and tackling of running a business.
Yeah, they're passionate in their space, but
exactly
they can actually the barbs of running a business.
Yeah.
and hitting not only that payroll, but also hitting all their different expenses regularly that need to happen, and also forecasting and envisioning what's going to be happening for the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Those business planning models aren't there. Readily embraced whenever an entrepreneur starts the nonprofit execution.
And
You're absolutely right.
And I am the optimist. I mean, in today's you Edge of Indy and your company is very geared into this highly networked, connected world we live in. And sometimes all we need to do is just remove a couple of the barriers for folks, whether it's nonprofit leaders or small business leaders, to just be opened up to this world of resources that's out there. But oftentimes taking that first step and understanding what's available, it can be really intimidating. And I'd say that's a big theme for us, is constantly trying to connect big industry and these companies that we're grateful for in Indianapolis that have been successful worldwide, and to connect them to entrepreneurial companies, grassroots organizations. And it gets very complicated. I'm sometimes I feel like I'm a mile wide and an inch deep, but it's a role that we embrace for sure.
Very cool. Well, we certainly appreciate what you're doing. What specific projects or growth should Indy be excited about starting in 2018?
Yeah, I think telling our story to specific segments nationally and internationally, doing a much more aggressive job telling the story of tech and how it's helping to grow the economy, doing a much more aggressive job of marketing to specific segments of it's about retaining, and then it's about attracting new. We're going to do a much more aggressive job trying to retain students from our universities here. For some reason, Indiana University, where my wife and I met in graduate school, and Purdue University, and we've got this concentration of great universities here, and we still lose too many of the graduates, more than we really should. And some of our competitors are doing a really good job there. There's a lot that we can learn. And then, we can't do enough for entrepreneurial companies. More and more of the jobs in America are being created by existing entrepreneurial companies. We're trying to change a model that has been based on attracting companies and getting them to move here. Occasionally you get an Amazon, 5-week sprint drill, and that's all really exciting, and we compete hard for those kinds of things. But the reality is the majority of the job growth is going to come from existing entrepreneurial businesses. So reducing barriers to growth, providing incentives, making sure that we've got the best environment for talent here in our city and our region is really, really important. Well,
you did speak to the colleges and the IUPUI MAC program that's down there with Kevin Burkhopes. Those are things that are so innovative that's happening, and we're probably going to be focusing on them in an upcoming Edge of Indy episode.
Great.
They're doing this collaborative education, non-teacher guided environment that is just taking the entire campus by fire, and all the different disciplines and all the different sciences. It's just fantastic. Those are things that are we're brandishing innovation, but we need to shout to the ramparts what's going on here.
I agree. Yeah, man, our medical informatics cluster here is incredible.
Yeah,
and you can go on down the list of all its academic and industry resources. You're going to see the area on Indiana Avenue between 10th and 16th Street really explode in the next few years. It's a district called 16 Tech. The private sector has raised over $300 million to create this shared research platform innovation district there. And that would actually be a great feature for you, which I can follow up on.
Absolutely.
Is the Biosciences Research Institute, and then the district that we call 16 Tech, and everything happening there with Lilly, Roche, Cook, and other companies on this kind of shared research but kind of flex IT space environment. It's going to be fantastic.
Can you tell us? Sorry, go ahead.
No, I love coming across new ideas while we're doing the show.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
Well, you and your ideas.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about Global Indy, that initiative too? Because I saw that on your website and thought, like, whoa, that's gonna it is big, and B, it's gonna be bigger. So can you tell us about that?
So through our work with the Brookings Institution, which is pretty well documented on our website, we discovered that one of the best things that we can do to help entrepreneurial and mid-market companies to help them grow is to connect with resources in other countries, maybe export markets, other collaborators in other countries. And it seems really complicated, and in fact, it's so easy. We have so many companies that would be great candidates for tools like the Export-Import Bank, which you may be familiar with. U.S. Commercial Services is always looking for companies. There's so many resources out there looking to take companies overseas. Purchasing power is growing in developing countries faster than it's growing in U.S. and Canada and Western Europe. And so, if we can get it sounds sort of aspirational. We have connected dozens of companies to export markets in China, in Brazil, and it's been really incredible. And a lot of times, it's just through a phone call to U.S. Commercial Services or to a lawyer or banker, and we have a lot of them in Indianapolis who know how to take companies overseas. And so, Global Indy is all about making those connections, but it's particularly aimed at small and mid-sized companies.
It's amazing what an email or a phone call can do, right?
It is. It's like your show. I mean, there's an entire world out there, and a lot of times just making that first connection can really change everything for an individual or company. And so we always try to never let go of that optimism, because a lot of times it's just that one contact, that one relationship.
Yeah, and it's the advocacy of those individuals that is huge. Speaking of advocacy, I mean, let's talk about Indy Chamber.
Yeah, and
the value of becoming an Indy Chamber member.
Yeah.
Where Site Strategics is certainly proud to be one.
Thank you.
Just paint the picture of the opportunities for membership.
You know, I try to always keep it simple in terms of the value proposition. We're growing again for the first time in several years. We're approaching 2,000 members again across different industries. So, and we always want people to approach it with some self-interest, right? If you want to meet companies in other industries very fast, especially, like I said, in other industries, other disciplines, I don't think there's anywhere you can do that faster than through involvement with us. But then, to take that a step further, if you're passionate about education and workforce development, which is, going to be the issue for us going forward, if you're passionate about working with other companies that are trying to tell the story nationally or internationally, if you're passionate about connecting other employees and organizations to opportunity, and if you have a real interest or passion in making sure that we've got the best policy framework at the state and local level, then there's no better place to do that. We can connect you with other companies who are doing really important work in all of those areas. And we've got over 1,900 members. Our relationship with every single one is a little bit different. And so a lot, we like to take that first step by connecting you to other industries that you might not know. We like to follow through by getting you connected in a meaningful way to an initiative or a team, something that is really changing the city and changing the region.
One of your resources on your website, which when I found, it made me gasp. I was like, oh, this is amazing. Your Indy Navigator resource. Yeah. That speaks to exactly what you're talking about
thanks.
right now,
Yeah,
which is connecting those organizations. So tell us about that.
And so Indy Navigator is part of a bigger initiative that we're trying to build up, and that is a virtual front door for businesses and entrepreneurs that can help you connect to sources of capital, literally, and investors, depending on where you are. It can help connect you to just troubleshooting issues of permitting and design. If you're renovating a building or building new, it can connect you to service providers, like banking and legal and things like that. There's a lot that's really, really industry specific that we don't do. You have trade associations, things that do that. Connecting people across these different industries, something like this we call it the Virtual Front Door Project, is something that we think is core to who we are, and there's a lot more where that came from. So thanks for bringing up Indy Navigator.
When I saw it, it was like it reminded me of college and the corkboard, how you would post something up there and then people would walk by and take it. It's just such a rich resource that if companies are not using that, you should definitely take a look at it.
No, thank you.
And you just revamped your website as well just recently.
We're working on it, and it's sort of a multi-generational thing, because you've got we need to have a presence in terms of companies that are interested in Indianapolis, and then we also need to have a presence that can be a resource for our elected officials and things like that. So it's sort of an ongoing phased process, but that release is imminent, and we're really excited about that. We're also doing more in terms of content creation, and we've talked about this, doing a much better job telling those individual stories. For one thing I've learned about cities and regions that are really great environments for entrepreneurial companies, it's like you don't earn that status by accident, and it's actually not enough just to have the entrepreneurs. If you can't tell their stories, you're dead in the water, right? And so we've got so many great entrepreneurial companies, and we're prepared to invest a lot more to tell those stories on a variety of fronts.
Very good. Well, Michael Huber, we really appreciate your time today, stopping by. I know you've got a busy schedule, but can you give us, through your, to wax poetically a little bit, can you give us through your lens what makes Indianapolis such an entrepreneurial friendly city?
We make stuff.
We make good stuff.
and where so it's okay. So the
take two.
The U.S. No, for real. The world's economy and the U.S. economy is becoming more and more differentiated. You know.
Yep.
And we make stuff here really, really well. So we have entire parts of our economy that are based on financial engineering. New York City. I love New York City, but based on financial engineering, in L.A. on the entertainment industry and things like that. We grow things and make things here. Mm-hmm. That will continue. The way that we grow things and make things is going to become increasingly automated. Mm-hmm. But we've got the manufacturing and tech assets here that we can really benefit from that. We can be the economy where we still grow things and make things, but all that R&D related to manufacturing and ag is right here. And that's really exciting for me. I also see, I'm reading the tea leaves. I see the relationship with companies like FedEx growing here, and that logistics hub that we are as the center of the U.S. population, which is growing more and more into a worldwide hub. You can start to imagine how all these pieces are gonna fit together very well.
Absolutely.
We just have to do it. We can't lose focus though on retaining the talent that's mm-hmm. here and making sure that we're aggressively welcoming talent from around the country and around the world. And we have to do both. It's not one or the other. I know I blew way past the parameters you gave me, Aaron. But
there's the passion, folks.
I appreciate
it. For the CEO of Indy Chamber, he's got to be able to plug in and share that and wax poetically. That was beautiful.
No, thanks.
So becoming an Indy Chamber is very easy.
It is really easy. Yeah, just go to indychamber.com. You'll meet. We only hire people. It's basically two things. We only hire people who have a natural curiosity about business and entrepreneurship, mm-hmm. and people who have a passion for changing the city and transforming the city. We always say, if you don't have those two things, it's just not going to work out. We prefer to think about it in the positive, though. If you have those two things,
then it will
we'd
work
love
out.
to talk. Right? Yeah. And so you go to our website. Someone will follow up. And
I'm sorry, this isn't for you. Go ahead.
right. Exactly.
Wow.
Right.
No, you're absolutely. And that's where that's what's the fabric of business inside of Indianapolis is that you're seeing that so much, and it's a great resource to be able to connect, to be able to benefit from the offerings that Indy Chamber provides on a regular basis. Yeah. I mean, there's so much. Brittany pulled up one here that's coming up here real soon. What's that? The Small Business Saturday.
Small Business Saturday at the end of the month. And
that we run. So if you look at our calendar, we run over 100 events a year. We don't recommend everybody go to 100 events a year, but that's where if you get in touch with us and we know more about your goals,
right?
Myself or any number, we've got about a full team of about 60 across all of our verticals, and we'll find a person that can help your business identify that plan of attack, so you know exactly which events and which initiatives are gonna meet your goals. And again, there's no substitute for just making some initial connections with companies. Maybe they're in different industries. Maybe there are other entrepreneurs that have been there before and mm-hmm. that are really going places. It's exciting.
One quick question from our audience before we break here. Gary Ryder actually is asking, how can we identify stuff bought here that is not made here for startup ideas?
Stuff bought here that is not made here for startup ideas. I love Gary. Hi, Gary. That's stuff bought here that's not made here for startup ideas. I think really doubling down on the fabrication and 3D printing. And I don't know if this was the intent of Gary's question, but mm-hmm. this is what it makes me think of. One of our big initiatives right now is to encourage development of entrepreneurial curriculum more and more within education. We do a lot of work in K-12. We do a lot of work with the Indianapolis Public Schools, our biggest school district in the region and in the state. And I think that's part of the key. We've got all these great manufacturing companies, manufacturing entrepreneurs, and we're trying to get those folks more and more and more plugged in with education so that kids start growing up with more of this ethos of invention and, making things with your hands and taking advantage of the existing technology. And we don't always do this well. When we do it well, we find that entrepreneurs and business folks are super energized about getting connected with schools. I'm really proud of some work that we've done with the Indianapolis Public Schools on helping them understand their entire facilities inventory, its utilization, and the possibilities for alternative uses. So there's a lot there. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks to our audience. Michael, we know you're busy and you got to bounce to another meeting here. We do want to share with you, our audience, how you can get a hold of Michael on Twitter, Michael_J_Huber, as well as at Indy Chamber, right? On Facebook, just look for Indy Chamber, as well as the website, indychamber.com. You've got all the socials right.
Yes.
Check. And hey, we really appreciate your time today, and I'm certain that we're going to be back and connecting with you on different opportunities that we want to lift up for Indianapolis.
Thank you, Aaron and Brittany, and thanks for everything you do on Edge of Indy, featuring these companies and organizations that are really changing the city. So thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Of course, it's a treat for us.
We love it, and it's great. It kind of fills us with energy every time we're talking to people like you. Fantastic. All right, coming up, someone else who actually fills up the room with energy and some very odd stories. We've got Paul Poteet on the Edge coming up right after this.
Real life, real stories. Let's see what's trending in Indianapolis. This is Paul Poteet on the Edge.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. That is a meme right there.
Is that the Vogue? If you do that?
Yep, with a piece of paper and everything. That's how you do it.
Or is it like that?
And you look like a turkey now.
Well, I'll be screenshotting that.
And if you're going to draw a turkey, you always revert. If you're me, you always revert to elementary school. You put the hand down and you trace around your hand. That's one of the earliest memories I have of elementary school. It's time to make a turkey. So put your hand down on a piece of cardboard paper.
My kids actually do the same thing, but they actually make little bats, and they do that kind of. I don't know how they do it, but they do it.
Do people still use cardboard paper, or is there some new something replaced cardboard paper?
All the same thing. It's all there. Nothing. And on top of that, they got the glue sticks that are great to eat too.
Oh, see, I never ate glue, but I would occasionally chew a crayon.
Oh, but which color?
Should we introduce who we're talking to now?
Oh,
doesn't matter.
Oh,
doesn't matter.
Watchers and listeners. Yeah, exactly. We have Paul Poteet on the Edge today, and we just jumped right into
weirdness.
Yeah, regularly. It's like we have
the content.
We were having a private conversation. We forgot that we were actually broadcasting to all these fine folk.
I had that problem a lot of times where I'll start to talk about something on the radio with somebody, and I can't remember if I've told them in real life or on the air because there's not much difference, and sometimes
everything bleeds over, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you forget, did I share that with the class already or not?
And then you repeat yourself, and they all look at you.
And people just say, "Oh, that poor old man, he's repeating his stories."
See, there's a Sparks senile moment that's actually starting to coalesce here at Site Strategics.
You're safe here. It's okay. You will be taken.
You can tell us, Brittany. Does it happen at the office sometimes?
Just give me my warm milk and set me in the corner. I'm fine.
Come with me, sir. You're okay.
I'm great today. Look at my new hairdo, Brittany. Great. We were in the green room before, and she said, "Oh, did you get a haircut?" No,
your hair
looks
good.
I washed it about an hour.
So to our Edge of Indy audience, we're presenting you the clean Paul Poteet.
Thank you very much. Sometimes on the radio I'm too dirty, but I'm clean for you guys.
And I'm assuming we have some clean stories this week because honestly, what we've had over recent shows.
Yeah, these are pretty clean. You'll be happy to know that I turned down one that had to do with a guy shoplifting shrimp. Google it. So I'm not doing that one.
He's not out of Florida, is he?
Well, apparently he was out of shrimp.
Oh,
and he needed to get some out of the store. No,
in one way, shape, or form.
I decided to go with another list that I don't like. I have a fetish for lists that I don't agree with, I guess, to bring to you. This is supposedly the best places to retire in America. Okay? from what is this bank? Speaking of old people, I have to get my glasses out. I think this is Bankrate. Thank you. Bankrate.com.
Okay.
Their list of best places to retire in America. Now, I've actually heard number one is Pittsburgh, which I actually have had people tell me is a sleeper, that it's a really cool town. And then they have Pittsburgh. These are best places to retire, mind you. Pittsburgh, Boston, Los Angeles,
Really?
Denver, Providence, Rhode Island, Minneapolis, Tampa, I guess is the most obvious one in the top. Next to Phoenix is in the top 10, then Austin, Dallas, Raleigh, North Carolina, pretty. But then some of them are just like we rate Indianapolis. That's a lot of words there, I realize. But Indianapolis ranks lower than like Chicago or Los Angeles on this list of. And one of the reasons why, like versus LA, I believe they had our crime rate high, and maybe it's per capita or something. I don't know. Crime rate higher here. Our cost of living did not, compare favorably to
What the heck?
some of these cities.
46th.
I mean, that can't be right.
Okay, but let's be honest. Would the two of you retire here?
Yes.
You would?
Yeah, I mean, I could see
Absolutely.
before retiring in Chicago in a heartbeat because I don't like cold weather. I'm like an iPhone, X. I don't perform well in cold weather. But
Too soon, man. Too soon.
yeah, but they're fixing it. Don't worry. If you spend another $1,000, everything will be great. But
Wow.
I don't think I would retire here.
Really?
It's too cold.
So
no.
where would you go south then?
Yeah, I
but
would
would
go
you-
south.
But would you go to LA? Would that be
No,
like
no.
the first thing that jumps into your mind? I don't. We'll we have a link to these every week when we post these. So
I think
See,
I
I'm
would go
committed to the Indiana and Indianapolis
forever and ever and ever.
audience, and I will absolutely retire here. in
your
Indianapolis.
equity is with
Exactly.
the audience
I don't know
here.
where Brittany is.
I support you, but not forever time.
Not forever time.
She'll be in Oklahoma City
No, I'll be in
Hartford, Connecticut.
Savannah, Georgia. That's
With
where I
her
would go.
with her Indianapolis pennant flag. Yay!
Is Savannah on there?
Savannah. Now, I don't see that one on there. They do say the cost of living here, they call it very low, but then they also call it very low in some places, where you wouldn't think that it's very low. So, I don't know. Just LA and Chicago, I just don't see how many people do you know that have the winter home in Chicago? It just didn't make any sense to me.
I love that balmy lake effect.
That's right. I want 50, 60, 70 inches of snow. 26 inches here in Indianapolis per season on average is not enough. So
No offense, future Edge of Chicago watchers. Just saying.
Well, yeah, right. I mean, we all, I'm sure, have contacts in Chicago. I've done, voiceover projects for radio stations, whatever, ad agencies in Chicago, but I do them from Indianapolis.
From
We
your
can't
southern
trust
home.
If this keeps up, I mean, can we trust any list? I mean, what about that Blake? What about that Blake Shelton thing? Is that real?
Oh,
Yes.
no.
I love Blake
did,
Shelton.
You did that. You did that deliberately,
Paul.
I may have slipped that in there just to be a topical tie. So you approve then?
Blake Shelton
Brittany.
is a national treasure. He is just the best of everything ever. And I've met him, and he's very nice, and he thinks I'm very tiny.
That's a compliment.
Isn't it a safe bet that like any given country star you meet is going to be not? I did the when I was with Channel 6, we had every year. I think they still run it on ABC. They run those the awards. They just had them. What are those called, Brittany?
The CMAs.
CMAs, and we would do like a big, pre-primetime live show on the red carpet.
Right.
So I got to talk to a lot of these people for a couple of years, and they're all nice. I mean, they're all. But you say he's super nice.
Oh, he
Except
is
for Blake. He's
just
super
the best
nice.
in the entire world. Oh, just tall and handsome and just perfect.
Really, he's tall.
Wow.
He doesn't.
Oh
he doesn't
no, he's
look-
like 6'7". He's very tall.
It's so hard to tell height when you only see people on like TV. People are always just say to me, "Oh, you're taller than I thought you would be." So I didn't think he was tall.
No, he is tall. When I walked in, he goes, "You are tiny." I'm like, "Well, you're."
Did he say it like that?
Yeah, he did.
You are tiny.
Yep.
You are tiny.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is Aaron still here?
Yeah, I honestly, I'm taking a break.
Thanks, Paul.
So you do agree with that particular
Yes, I do.
list? That's good. Okay, good, very good. Shout out to Blake.
Speaking of a blonde moment,
I didn't want to make the. It may have buzzed through my head there. That little, segue,
I'm not making any type of reference or content. I'm just saying, wow, there's another story here, which is interesting.
Now this though is about a ditzy person. We probably don't know anybody.
Nobody here
like
Absolutely
that. But she is a teacher in Arkansas. She was involved in a little.
I'm going to set you both on fire, but go on.
I'm in her blood circle right now, so I got to be careful.
I'm from a safe distance.
Paul, protect yourself from the lasers right now.
This is the beauty of years of sidekicking via remote. Not being in the same studio with people.
Yeah, she's going to cut me, man. I gotta.
Trust me, it lasts longer if you're not in the same room. That's why I refuse to be in the same room with you guys.
Oh wow!
This is a woman in Arkansas. So she's involved in a little insurance fracas, and the insurance adjuster says, "Well, we're going to need pictures to settle this claim. We're going to need pictures of the front and the side. Some pictures from the front and the side."
Yep.
So
and look at what she did.
She submitted photos of, scroll down. This is, by the way, Alyssa Stringfellow.
That's her front.
And
they're her side shots.
Dear. Oh, Alyssa.
Every time I see that, it makes me laugh.
She's so happy about it, too. And that's the thing.
That was like her best foot forward. Like,
oh, it was. That was a great pose there.
Oh, Alyssa.
And she, God love her. I guess she had the, sense of humor to actually, share this with the class. And she also shared the note from her insurance agent. It said, "Hi, Alyssa. I am going to need pictures just like you took, except it needs to be of your vehicle." Winky face or smiley face, whatever.
Oh my God.
That will allow me to put full coverage on your Kia and then add to your policy where we insure you for walking across the street on any given day.
Oh, Alyssa. Good luck.
And
Good luck,
and
dear.
the fact that it's now on the internet, just own it, Alyssa. Just own
I
it.
would, if that happened to you, would you tell a soul? I mean, if that happened to me, that's going into the vault.
Gosh, that is.
She and I, right. I mean, that's the only reason. But it's not like the person from, who was it? Was it
Insurance company.
Yeah, I didn't say which insurance company. It's not like, you post that.
Yeah,
Wow.
but
Very good
they
client.
had a good laugh at the office that day, the insurance office. And they got,
even if she hadn't posted it, like every insurance adjuster in the country is going to be, hearing about this story forever and ever.
That's awesome. And she owned it to the degree. She said it was such a blonde moment, but it has given so many people a laugh. I don't care anymore. That's awesome.
I know, but what was she telling her? Like, what logically? Like, okay, my car, I need to take. I'm gonna take some pictures straight on of myself to send to a car. Like, what?
Maybe if it was like life insurance, if you were buying some sort of health insurance, maybe. Well, God knows the pictures you'd send then. But
maybe she's just trying to make sure that they know that she's
a conscientious. Look at me, I'm so conscientious.
Or you got to prove you are who you say you are. Therefore, I don't know.
And you wonder, and people think that Mark Zuckerberg was that story in the news about Facebook? There's some theory they had where if they requested nudes from you, then they would know when somebody was.
Yeah. I heard that too.
Yeah, and you think, well, nobody's ever going to send them nude photos, and then you think, well, maybe they would.
It's like an effort to make sure that if somebody who's not you submits naked pictures of you, that they can like shut it down because it didn't get. It's really weird. It makes no
Give me the
actual
logic
sense.
again.
Okay, the logic is they're trying to prevent somebody who is not you from submitting pictures of you naked.
Okay.
And posting them.
Okay.
But like the revenge porn stuff. So
language.
They're saying, sorry. So they are requesting that you would send naked pictures of yourself
proactively
to Facebook
to make sure,
so that if that picture comes across again, they can be like, no, that's Aaron's picture.
You got to be kidding me.
No.
I know. No way.
Do we put our best foot forward in that shot too? Do you need the front shot, the side shot? What do you do?
Dear Mr. Zuckerberg,
is there
I was
recognition
in the pool.
software?
I don't know. I don't. Oh my God! Stop. Next, Paul. Next, quickly. Next.
Apparently, in Hollywood, they could use that as a recognition software. That's another story. Okay, story number 3.
I'm sorry.
Oh my God.
We're going to finish with, and you'll be happy to know I'm not so cheap that I made this number 2, but story number 3 has to do with a police interrogation in Kansas City. This is serious stuff. I mean, the guy is charged with drug offenses and gun offenses, but then another offense entered the story.
Yep.
The police investigation ended prematurely when an investigator was driven from the room by the suspect's excessive flatulence.
Oh my gosh. That's like, that's like a defensive
I don't think they
mechanism.
actually put up yellow tape. I think that might be Shutterstock file footage there. 24-year-old Sean Sykes, quote, I love police when they fill out their paperwork, quote, leaned to one side of his chair and released a loud F-A-R-T before answering. The Kansas City Star reports that Sykes continued to be flatulent, and the detective was forced to quickly end the interview.
Oh, that's amazing.
What is wrong
Actually,
with people?
Right. Yeah.
Well, he's
I guess
like raising up a stink cloud, so he doesn't.
God.
it's like
It's
we're
like
booking Pigpen from Peanuts, is in the stir.
I mean, it's almost like he's got a white stripe. He's got some sort of defensive posture.
Can you imagine having to share a cell with him, too?
Oh, my gosh.
That would be the worst.
Oh, people.
He appeared in court last Monday and was charged with being just disgusting and gross. Gross negligence.
Oh, my gosh.
Charged with being a felon in possession, 3 firearms possession with intent to sell cocaine. So, I mean, you can get out of the interrogation, but you can't get out of the charges. But it is worth noting that in America, you do have the right to be silent but deadly.
Okay. Oh. That was a creeper right there.
I have nothing.
Oh.
Good.
Weird.
Hopefully you have nothing to add.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, so that is what we found just tiptoeing over the edge of the internet this week for you, Indianapolis.
And the gaseous clouds that are there. All right. Speaking of clouds,
I don't have that on my charts for the next 2 days.
Oh, let's have a look.
Here is the forecast for the next 7 days in Indianapolis, and it takes a turn. The atmosphere is moving very quickly. The weather systems are in. Sometimes they, generally are moving faster than other times. In the middle of summertime, we can have the same pattern for like a couple of weeks, but not right now. Spring and fall get busy, so that's why Tuesday was so beautiful. It was nice, and today's dreary again. Tomorrow should be beautiful, although a little cooler. Friday might be a sleeper. You might be able to squeeze in some outdoor time then, because those showers and storms are just a slight chance in the afternoon and a bigger chance Friday night into Saturday morning. Big time cold front. So upper 50s Saturday, probably falling into the low 50s by the afternoon, and then it keeps on falling. Another hard freeze Sunday morning, and then Sunday just the mid 30s. Good news is I was just looking ahead to like the day before Thanksgiving, Wednesday and Thursday of next week, and it does look pretty quiet then. So it might be on the cool side, but no huge. In the eastern part of the country, at least, it doesn't look like any huge travel problems if you're going over the river, et cetera, to the woods.
That really doesn't work well with my hunting schedule. I need it a little bit cooler. Can you actually turn down?
Sir, shut your mouth. We don't need it any cooler.
Does it make any difference? I mean, if it's 55 as opposed to 35, does it make that much difference?
You better believe it.
Oof. Yeah.
And I need a little snow on the ground too, please.
Well, again, I hope you're not using the iPhone X for any hunting apps. While you're out there.
Snow's great for hunting. It's wonderful.
It's not good for driving, though.
No, but I'm not driving. I'm in a tree for 8 hours.
So we're not doing snow.
We're not doing snow. All right. Not doing snow.
Winter is great if you just sit there and don't do anything in the middle of it. It's when you're trying to do something in winter that it gets in the way.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
Just don't do anything.
That's why I'm retiring to Chicago.
Yeah.
Stupid list.
Oh, man. Well, Paul, that was fantastic. And we're going to have a surprise for our audience here next week. We're going to actually have your segment in studio as well. So
I was just kidding about never being there in person, apparently.
Yeah, see, I'm putting you on the spot here. And make sure that there's no flatulent stories that can either be coming with you or happen at the event.
On me.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Make sure you shower.
Yeah, so my hair looks good.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind.
You shouldn't have to worry. I'll still be 24 hours out from stuffing at that point. So
Oh, see, yeah.
all should be good.
Fantastic.
Oh, jeez.
All right, well, those are the stories from the Edge.
He just snorted. He
Paul,
actually just snorted.
He really did. I was ignoring it. You had to bring my attention to it. I'm just going to step over that one. How do they find you in your...
in my universe,
Yeah.
my constantly expanding universe, much like a gaseous
There it is.
substance.
See, I was really trying to tee that one up, and he just took a swing at it.
No.
You can find what in the world I'm doing at paulpoteet.com. PAULPOTEET.com.
And also follow him on Twitter with the same handle because he's churning up fun tidbits all the time.
I'm going to be posting pictures of Blake Shelton all Wednesday night, so I'll see you online then for the latest.
The Blake Shelton wake behind Paul.
You're a tiny little girl, aren't you? I'll see y'all later.
All right. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye now.
This is Edge of Indy, showcasing Indianapolis tech trends, marketing industry champions, and business innovation. Broadcasting from Edge Media Studios. Now, let's get back to today's topic.
Okay, we're back after that fiasco. My Lord, where did we go with that segment?
Act natural, everyone.
We want to say something to Yelp Bazaar. Yelp Bazaar is coming on and coming up, and we want to introduce you to some friends of the show. We've got Brittany Smith over there, Associate Regional Director of Midwest Marketing and Community over at Yelp.
It's quite a long title.
Thanks a lot for that.
Doing all the things.
It just keeps going.
Yeah. Heather Gibbons, Fabric Concierge.
Yes,
I love that. As well as Quilter-in-Chief at Crimson Tate.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
More than welcome. And we also have owner of Aha Chai, Raji Muthakrishnan.
Hey, good job. Thank you.
I think that was probably the most arduous title slide that I had there. But you know what? We love having you guys here. Okay, we've got to know, what is Yelp Bazaar?
Oh, man. It is a whirlwind pop-up party one night each year in December where we are bringing together more than 150 local businesses under one roof to get people to shop local during the holiday season, bring their Christmas shopping list with them, and they can nail it throughout Central Library. All the floors, you're going to find something to have everybody on your list.
Empty out your wallet.
That's right.
Just walk in, go like this,
Yes.
and you're good.
We even
love
provide an ATM, so there are no excuses. If it's a cash-only business, you're still going to make it rain on them. So.
That is beautiful.
Yes.
So for everything that we talk about on the show, choose local and choose local often. You can literally choose local by floors at Central Library.
Yeah. Everything from local spirits to Indiana-shaped pillows to local chai and great stocking stuffers, the full gamut. And each year we keep having more items that are kid-friendly, more items that are great for men,
organic
kind of working,
and dogs.
Exactly.
It's literally, that's my favorite event in Indianapolis is the
that's a
Bazaar.
great
It is my favorite
compliment.
event
Thank you.
because it's massive. It's in a beautiful location. And you can literally, if you have like the aunt in your life that you don't know what to buy her, you will go to this event and be like, oh my God, she totally needs that wicker, the wicker
thing you
basket
never knew
and
existed.
the thing and the doohickey. Like that would be perfect for her.
Yes.
There's no excuse. Everyone should go to this for sure.
Yeah. There's definitely a story behind every item that you're finding there, and it's for all ages, which I think is pretty fun because it is part party, part shopping. So even if you're not someone who enjoys shopping, there's going to be local beer and wine and spirits to sample. So you can find something for
You really need
too.
to stop there first.
It makes them spend more money.
Absolutely. See? It gets you in that bizarre mindset, right?
Yes.
Take breaks throughout.
Yes.
Go get another drink. Next
Exactly.
floor.
They're
Really
like,
a floor.
Yes, that's how it works. That's exactly what happens. Just coins and dollar bills are falling. Yes,
I'm getting kind of scared now.
No, it's awesome.
You got to check it out.
Anything goes at the Yelp Bazaar.
Yes.
Holy crap. crap. Okay, so we do have two business owners here that will be participating at the event. So let's talk about our ladies here and the organizations that you represent.
I'm Raji, and as you said, I'm the owner, founder, crafter, blender, all in all of Aha Chai. We are a 2-year-old business, and we make anything from loose leaf chai blends to ready-to-drink chai and chai concentrate.
All the chai things.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I realize many customers love chai, but they don't want to make it at home. So this is a very easy way where everything is made for them. All they have to do is add hot water or milk, make a latte, just heat it up, or in summer.
But that's
just
optional,
have it as a
right?
cold chai.
I could drink the chai straight, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying.
Sugar overload.
Hardcore, yeah.
Excellent. Well, that's fantastic, and we have a few products there that you brought with you.
So
don't show my brother his Christmas gift. In case you're watching.
This is our loose leaf blends, and we have over 6 varieties of chai. So one of my mission is to provide our customers different varieties, which has base from different countries and different spices, and at the same time delicious. And with all these varieties, I still want to stay true to my roots and make it authentic. So that's our mission. And
very cool indeed. And only 2 years old.
Yes, 2 and a half.
There you go. All right, and we also have the quilter in chief here.
Yes.
So tell us about your organization.
Crimson Tate started solely as a fun way to sew some things and sell them, and then now eventually here we are, 7-8 years later, and we have a storefront on Mass Ave. And so it really has taken the amazing events like the Yelp Bazaar to build a really awesome customer base, which is what this is. That pop-up party absolutely encompasses like what this event is. And so I spend a lot of time doing the craft fair, schlepping my stuff around. And this is one of the events that we still do. Like, we don't do as many events because obviously we have a storefront where we sell sewn goods of a little bit, but mostly we sell fabric, and we teach classes on how to sew and teach kids how to sew, adults how to sew. So we kind of do a lot of things. We write quilt patterns. I design fabric. Like,
really cool fabric.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on at Crimson Tate, 845 Massachusetts Avenue.
I was going to say, that's what I think of, Heather. I think of you as being on that east end of Mass Ave. You were one of the pioneers. That now that is all filling in right across from where the West Elm Hotel is going to be. That's a happening area.
Yeah, it's really great. It's a really handmade area up on our end between chocolates and homespun. Yeah,
Andy Reid's. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's the awesome end.
Yeah, it's a very cool area. So as I'm understanding the bazaar here, for our audience who looks for local, and I mean, like we were just talking about, there's an entire focus on how to find local businesses and be able to provide commerce and growth. My gosh, what you're doing is you're bringing them all in one space, and what a fantastic way to relate and understand all the stories of these different businesses, because these are not national chains. These are all local businesses. Fantastic.
Well, it's really serving as like a marketing arm for these businesses who might not have the time or the know-how how to execute marketing on their own. If you get enough people here, the marketing is done for you all for a while. I mean, once you have new eyes on your products, you're taken care of for at least a hot minute after that. So
we try to, I mean, it's with looking at the event, we tell them, like, we have no marketing dollars to promote this event. So which is very much like a local small business. Sure. We kind of work together to promote it. It's a win-win for everybody. 7,000 shoppers in one night. So if you can picture 3.5 hours at Central Library, the floodgates open. It is a little crazy in the beginning. My number one tip is always start at the top, work your way down, because everybody starts right there at the beginning. which sounds like such a simple thing, but
well, start with a drink and then start.
Yeah.
Do
we
they
put
have
some drinks at the top?
That's it?
actually.
Oh, good.
We did this last year. We're like, first, so many folks to the top get a complimentary drink. We're like, we're gonna ship them right to the top as fast as we can, and then kind of split up that flow. So
No,
yeah.
that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's what it takes.
You gotta position the spirits strategically.
Oh yeah,
I mean, look at that. That is beautiful.
oh yeah.
Well, so is your product, but
Yeah,
the building itself, yeah, the library is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest things too for this event. In the past, every year, the place that we choose to host it is very much a part of the process too. So Central Library, so many people have never been in our Central Library, and it is stunning and it is such a great space. So last year we had almost 200 people get a library card for the first time, which for me is such a celebration. We had
Oh
a
my
gong.
gosh. Yeah, the
Yes,
gong. Oh my gosh, the gong.
We have a-
Every time someone would get a library card,
Ring
they
a
would
gong.
ring the gong. It was
Gotta make it
amazing.
fun, and then I would cheer and be running around. Yeah, and then before that, that's how you keep the energy going. And the old City Hall on Alabama Street, we were just talking about that. We cleaned up that space and hosted it in there one year when it was vacant. So really choosing spaces that we can shine the light on and bring all the businesses together.
So you touched on this a bit in your answer in terms of you have the storefront, so you don't really necessarily need to attend a lot of these events. But why this one in particular? Why should local businesses want to do this event and participate in this event?
Absolutely. It is such high energy and such good energy. And it really is that sort of synthesis and banding together of these small businesses that really do take you to the next level. Like it's absolutely what you've already described as far as like being able to push forward much harder and much faster in a way that you couldn't do on your own. And so banding together is a big part of it. It just is it's just a really great night. It's really fun. I mean, it's always high energy. People really are there to shop. Like they're there to like check people off their lists and the discovery of some amazing things, you know, things that you've never seen before. And, you know, all of my employees, like we're always like, who's going to, like, will you watch the booth so I can leave? Like, because
I bet, yeah.
Yes,
Well, and it's one of those
amazing.
environments where nobody's going to that event mad, sad. Everybody who's walking in there is like a sugar high usually or caffeine, you know, buzzed, and then like just ready to shop. It's
If they're
the
mad, it's
best.
because I can't get in the door fast enough. That's the only. The line starts building like an hour in
No,
advance.
but it's awesome.
Crazy. Yeah.
The line adds a whole nother dynamic
Yeah.
of like, I get to go to this. This is awesome.
Wow.
What about you, Raji, in terms of
Last year was our first year, and I had no clue what to expect. And as you said, like, you know, all of a sudden the line opened and people started coming in. Me and my husband were like, what should we do now?
Duck.
And as Heather mentioned, so lively. The event went on until 10 p.m. and we did not even feel a bit. Like, you know, it went so fast. It was so lively, and I just loved it. And not just on the day of the event, I have had several customers who walked up to us at the farmers market later on, said that they met us at Yelp Bazaar, and like, you know, it got us so many customers and opened us to a whole new set of customers. So.
It's really cool.
And they do a great job. They do such a great job.
Every year I'm like, whoa, do we want to do this again? It's literally like the energy of these people that make it so worth it.
And we all say, oh my gosh, if Brittany asks you to do this, you need to do it.
No pressure there. So, I mean, in that space, I mean, how many years have you been doing the bazaar again?
Yeah, I think this year is the 7th year. It's so funny. I have a hard time keeping count. But as it's grown each year, more and more businesses, the tricky thing is each year we have to find a space that's bigger to accommodate it. And the demand from businesses wanting to participate because it's free for the businesses to be a part of it, which is kind of unique in the world of being at fairs. So we have to curate the list and go through all the applications, and there's over 100 on the wait list for the event. So it's a little tough going through it. You're like, man, I wish we had more spots. I wish we could have more. So it's very strategic to make sure that we don't have 100 soap businesses or 100 jewelry business. We want to make sure it's diversified, new businesses in there too. So
could it ever become a 2-day event?
You know, I've been asked that a lot, and I think it would lose
Or like a week
little bit of
long or
momentum.
a year long? Can we just do like all the time?
I know. I'm like,
I think that's called a mall. I don't know for sure.
I think it would take a certain vibe out of it. Honestly, I've been asked that a lot. I think it would take a certain aspect away from it. I'd probably want to physically die after 2 days, as the business owners would.
You got plenty of chai tea to pop you right back up.
Yeah, you got to build that momentum. If anything, we just have a bigger space. And I think one thing to always remember, people think of of Yelp as the bazaar in Indy, but this is one of like 60 events we do throughout the year.
You are pretty
busy.
busy.
The week before, we're doing other events. We're like, we're doing all these events at once. So,
How long does it take to actually plan one bazaar? I mean, I assume you're doing this year-round planning.
Pretty close. June is when the applications open, and then that's by the end of that month, we're letting businesses know if they're in, and then it rolls from there. We try to give ourselves like 3 months to not talk about the bazaar and then move on to the next year. So, yeah, everybody's like capturing their getting their breath, after the holidays, and then we get back into it again.
And mention again when it is.
December 7th. It's a Thursday night.
I've already RSVP'd.
Way to go.
And Tyler, our social media manager in the other room, is coming too.
Way to go.
We're gonna come. We're gonna come together.
Oh yeah. So you got to be prepared. You got to look at the business list in advance and know, what you want to scope out.
Pull some money from savings.
Yes. And the goal is that people will come, like Heather was saying, and not just go to all the businesses they already know, but we kind of mix the businesses up so that you do stumble upon new ones and you walk away and you're like, I discovered like 10 new businesses tonight. So
to that point, have you heard how much this helps local business?
Yeah.
And do you have any stories that you can tell about that?
Yeah. So financially, we pulled the numbers. Last year, I didn't do it, but the year before, it was over $250,000 sold, or money spent
at the
within,
event, right.
yes, within 3.5 hours. And then I imagine it was even more. It was probably more last year because I think last year we had almost 2,000 more shoppers. That's how much it like grows. It grows. We're at the point actually where we don't want too many more just for safety within the space. And then for a lot of businesses, it's their first time getting out in having human contact with some people because they're used to doing like Etsy type platforms, or it really gives them a chance to meet the shoppers and build relationships. And then the other thing I think is really cool is the businesses that are connecting. We think so much just about the customer to business, but then there's the business to business. And I love seeing like your collaboration with the ice cream business in Bloomington, just different connections and collaborations that stem out of that is really cool.
If you need to start limiting people, you should do like a supermarket sweep style where like you only have a certain amount of time to like go in and do it, and then you have to be out at a certain time.
It's so sad at the end of the night when the shoppers were like, it's time to end. And people are just shopping like crazy, but yeah, it's so fun.
We have long lines and people waiting, walking like this.
Yeah. They're like, don't end it.
Yeah. Also, can you tell us about parking? Because I know that's always a challenge. So what should Tyler and I do with our car when we go to this event?
So this is Brittany on a soapbox. I'm like, Indiana, Hoosiers, you need to walk. Now, I'm like, it is an urban setting. We cannot build new parking lots to accommodate this event. So that is one of the tricky things. Uber is an answer, going together with your friends, because there are only so many spots in that area. Central Library, the spots fill up very quickly. We try to partner with lots surrounding there. So we send out an email about a week in advance with parking tips with those lots that are nearby. But we really, really encourage Uber, because otherwise you're going to probably be walking a little bit.
Walking.
Yep. Being prepared to walk, because at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do with downtown venues. That's true. That is the answer. Yeah. You can't build a parking garage for it.
It needs to be floating someplace and just kind of follow Yelp wherever you guys are going.
Yeah. Parking is always the number one question. Yeah.
So we certainly want to also shout out to Drink GP as well as Upland Brew Company. They're going to be out there as well.
Yes, they are. Actually, Garden Party, I think Aaron's going to be on the top floor as one of those businesses that you can hustle to the 6th floor to get some drinks to start off.
That's where I'll start.
Yeah. There you go. Inside scoop.
There it is. Well, it's a huge event, and what a great shopping experience, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So you're asking the participants to RSVP. Mm-hmm. Where do they do that?
So you just go to yelp.com/events. It'll be the event you see right there. Most of the businesses that you're seeing on the list also have it posted on their websites and social.
Yep.
It's literally the only thing we ask of attendees, so we can kind of prepare for how many folks are coming, so we can give them parking tips in advance, because it's hard to get all that information out the door without contact. And it is a free event for attendees, all ages, free for the businesses. So we're like, the one thing is
and
to
there's
RSVP.
A free component. The first, what number of people get?
Totes.
Yes, the totes.
People go nuts over the totes.
Well,
it amazes me.
Who doesn't need another tote in their life?
Oh gosh, this year I think we have about 800 shopping totes, which sounds like so many, but literally in about 20 minutes, those get knocked out. So the first 20 people who check in to the event on the Yelp app, they show it to them, they get a shopping tote. And people, they're hearts are crushed if an hour in they don't get that free tote.
Yeah, like a black market tote environment.
I know,
All of a sudden, people are
Yes,
buying.
you lift up your suit, open the suitcase
Yeah,
here
got some
years
totes
past.
here.
Yep. Right.
Tote scalpers.
Yeah.
Write that down.
Top dollar. Which one
Note
do
to
you want?
self. That's right. Right at the information desk in the main atrium. That's where we have like a team of like 10 people handing out the totes. So, yeah, I actually forgot about that. Need to get ready for it.
need to order those totes.
I've already
okay?
got them ordered. I got them.
Like a tote SWAT team.
I know. It's
Wow.
crazy.
Oh, well, if we could wrap up with this segment by just asking, what would you say to the business owners here, say about the bazaar, and in like one sentence to other aspiring business owners, how valuable this is for potentially their visibility in the local space?
As we were talking about the economy that it pulls, Yelp Bazaar is the toppest grossing event for us.
Oh,
And
that's
I've
excellent.
heard that from many other business owners too. So it adds so much value. And as I mentioned earlier, it introduces you to a lot of customers, and I got a lot of fellow business friends too through that. So you get a lot of exposure, which is like very, very important, even than money for us. Right. And so that is a very important thing. And third of all, events like this that pulls more crowd, that like they do a great job in advertising and even reminding us, they
Don't forget to tell your followers.
come on, 100 more days to go, 90 more days to go, and we need it. it really motivates us, keeps us pumping, and we start thinking about what should we introduce new to Yelp Bazaar, what should we get new. This is a great way of showing you not about your product, what you offer new, to talk to your customers, to tell them where they can find you and all these things. So it's like Black Friday.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you give them plenty of time to plan their outfits too. You have 30 days, you have 19 days to decide what you're going to wear.
We count down tennis shoes.
and a sweatband.
That's what I always tell my team. I'm like, wear your tennis shoes. Get ready.
Well, and that's the reality of it too. It really is super magical. And Brittany and the whole Yelp team really are so upbeat and friendly and are there to help. And as a business owner who's done this for a few years now, it is also our chance to sort of reinvent and test some things and see, let's see if this goes, and be clever with what we do. So we don't always bring the same things that we've always done. We always like to insert something new. So just being given that opportunity with an instant audience who are there and ready to participate and engage with you is pretty incredible. So big thanks to Brittany and the Yelp,
you guys.
to
You
the
guys
Yelp
make
team.
it so rich for me. Thank you.
Not unlike a chai extract, right?
Yeah.
Or concentrate.
I don't want to make
It's
it.
in my head now. You realize it.
He's ready to try it.
I
All
want to try
right.
it.
Yes, just
So
try it.
go to Yelp.com. Go check out the events section. You'll be able to see that. I mean, and there's the URL underneath. But just go to the events. You'll be able to see the top listing there for Yelp Bazaar. December 7th. It starts at when?
6:30 to 10 p.m.
To 10 p.m. 4 hours.
And they do kick
that's
you out
great.
at 10. I've tried.
We do. We're like, the library's doing us a big favor, so we start sweeping the floor. So get it in there. Yeah.
Pressure's on. So bring the monies, all the monies, and shop local there. You certainly want to follow Yelp Indy over on Twitter, Yelp Indy, as well as on Facebook, Yelp Indy. This is what local's all about. And these type of events are a rarity, although Yelp's doing this regularly throughout the entire year. A bazaar like this, you get to meet so many local faces, and you can see the kind of awe-inspiring brands that are there that are trying to give back to the Indianapolis environment, both from an economic standpoint, but also a social standpoint as well. So go out to the bazaar and make sure that you choose local, and choose local often. Every one of the floors go up, and make sure that you heard it on Edge of Indy. Thanks so much. I want to thank everybody that was a participant of the show.
Thank you for
You're
having us
more than
here.
welcome, more than welcome. And we will see you next week on Edge of Indy. Take care and choose local often. Bye-bye.